For me, abundance is a state of awareness. And it's awareness that I live in an infinite universe filled with limitless possibility. And it's that idea of developing that deeper awareness of that is what we're about here. At Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, we are all about transforming our lives. We're about finding ways to be more connected to the source of everything, the source of all good, the source of all of our lives, the source of each one of us individually. Now, you can call that source whatever you want. I happen to think of it as a love intelligence, spirit, the divine, universal consciousness. Some people call it God, some people call it Allah, some people call it Buddha. It doesn't really matter how you define it. It's how you experience it that is important in your lives. And so this idea of consciousness is infinite, and therefore it has unlimited gifts to offer to all of us. And so the state of awareness of abundance is actually one of our natural states of being. We live in an abundant universe. We live in a universe that is filled with infinite possibilities, infinite opportunities, and all of the resources that we could possibly need to have a great experience of life. Now, you know that there are some people who have to have lots of money to have a great experience of life. And I'm sure you know people who seem to have little money and are having a great experience of life. We know we've had people throughout our time that we've gone to as heroes that have been very poor in financial areas. And we have people that have had lots and lots of money that we think are also wonderful people to emulate. And so the money doesn't seem to be the deciding factor. It's more of the consciousness that they are bringing to the things that they do. So for each month, I'm an avid reader, so I like to find books that are out there that speak about these ideas in ways that are in alignment with our philosophy and our belief system. And for the month of July, I found the book, I think it's actually his latest book. It was written during the pandemic. He started it during the pandemic, finished it in March of 22. And it's Deepak Chopra's book called Abundance, The Inner Path to Wealth. Abundance, The Inner Path to Wealth. And he was written by Deepak Chopra. Like I said, in March of 2022, he published it. And so I've been reading this book for a while now, and I love the way that he brings in his Eastern philosophy, and yet I find that I can so well equate it to my more Western belief system and my ideas of consciousness and so forth, and how that is moving through our lives. A lot of our science of mind principles and philosophy come from the traditions of yoga, of Hinduism and Buddhism and so forth. And, many of our members of our communities are avid yoga practitioners. How's that? They engage in yoga. And so Deepak talks about abundance from this Eastern philosophy point of view. And there are three main things that he's talking about as being factors of abundance. And the first thing he does talk about is yoga. And he says that yoga means, the word itself is from the Sanskrit, it means to join or unite. And so yoga is all about aligning our consciousness with that infinite indwelling presence. Here at Centers for Spiritual Living, we would call that conscious union with the divine. Here he's calling it yoga, and yoga with a capital Y there, not necessarily the practice of just putting your body into different positions and so forth, many of which I've never been able to do, but that's okay. Yoga is more than just that physical practice of it. It is a whole spiritual belief system. And again, like I said, he says that it means to join or unite. He also says that yoga is the science of consciousness. And that's kind of what we have here at Centers for Spiritual Living. We are, a scientific-based philosophy that is all about developing consciousness. And he goes on to say that yoga is about developing our awareness. And so not only is it conscious union with divine, but it's the awareness of how it is operating in our experience. And remember, back at the beginning, I said that abundance is a state of awareness. And so if we're developing awareness around lots of different things through yoga, then we are certainly going to tap into that abundance as a part of our development of the awareness of it. The second concept that Deepak talks about in his book is Dharma. And Dharma is one of those things. I've read lots of books on Dharma. One of the best ones I've read is by Stephen Cope called The Great Work of Your Life. And he goes into several different people, from historical people who have lived their Dharma. Dharma is about choosing the path of life that is best for you. It's about choosing the right occupation. It's about choosing the way of being of service to the world. It's about aligning yourself with the highest and greatest good of your life. It is guided by our true self. It's like when we become aware of that consciousness that is moving within us, then we are actually guided by that true self. One of the people that he talks about in there is Harriet Tubman. And if you know Harriet Tubman's story, she heard the voice of spirit telling her to free her people, that she had to lead her people out of slavery. And she resisted. She resisted a lot. And yet it was such a powerful presence in her that she could not ignore it. And so, we all know the story of her leading many of the people who were enslaved in 1800s out to their freedom through the Underground Railroad. So when you are guided by your true self, you are living your Dharma. And Dharma is actually the most natural way of being. It often seems to people to be effortless to live their Dharma, that it's a natural flow of life. It's again something you can't stop from doing. It's something that is calling to you, it's an answer. It's a call that you cannot ignore. And it's the way that we become totally in line with spirit and allow spirit to move through us. And Deepak goes on to say that the key to wealth is being in your Dharma. Now again, remember, wealth is more than just money. No one would ever call Harriet Tubman a wealthy person as far as talking about the financial means that she had. But the wealth of experiences, the wealth of relationships, the wealth of the way that she is remembered and honored in our country, that's priceless. Those are the priceless things that far exceed any monetary value. And so Dharma is that way of being in our lives in the most natural and profound way that allows us to live our real purpose of life. And remember, our real purpose of life is about that conscious union. It is, according to Deepak, he says that the real purpose of life is the same for everyone. It is to connect with the generosity of spirit and let it provide everything that you need. And so through this practice of living our Dharma, through this practice of yoga that is about that conscious union with the divine, this is where infinite possibilities spring forth from. When we are aligned with spirit and we are living in our true self and allowing our true self to express itself, then everything is available to us. Now, it doesn't often seem like it is, because there's one other aspect of this that has been called many different things. Here in Science of Mind, we would call it hidden beliefs. And it's those things that block us. It's those things that we may be unaware of. We may be aware of them and yet not able to move through them, and we may be totally unaware of them. That is what he calls karma. Now, karma, according to Deepak, is the leftover results of our past actions. We like to think of that as cause and effect. We did something, that was our cause. We now have to live with the effect of that, cause and effect. What I love what he says about it, though, is that karma lives in the gap between our intentions and our outcome. We can have really, really good intentions, and we can not ever achieve the outcome that we want to have. I look at this often with some of the things that I've experienced in my life. I've had a lifelong challenge with my weight, and so I have to look at what is in between my intention of having a healthier body and my outcome of that. And that's where the karma lies. That's where my hidden beliefs are. That's where there are things that are operating that I may or may not be aware of. And these are things that are based on lots of different things. They can be based on internalized beliefs that I have that may have come to me through what we call race consciousness, through the society in which I live in. Blocks that are there that I can't move past because I haven't cleared away that belief system yet. These are things that, like I said, I may be aware of them, I may not be aware of them. But these are the hidden beliefs in there that are operating in my experience that stop me from going from my intention to do something to the outcome that I want for it. Now, the primary goal of karma, of understanding our karma, understanding these hidden beliefs, understanding the cause and effect, is that it gives us a choice in every moment to live consciously or unconsciously. So I can go on experiencing these hidden beliefs and karma, if you will, throughout my entire life, or I can take the opportunity to begin to delve deeper into it and see if I can find a way to clear that block, to release that hidden belief from my experience. And when we do that, that's when we can have true transformation. You know, there's all kinds of hidden beliefs that are operating out there, and we might not even have any idea that they are. There are things that we've internalized from our parents, our society, things that we've thought about ourselves, you know, and there are a lot of these are associated with this idea of abundance. You know, people that have will always have, people that don't have will never have. Why do we believe that there are certain countries that are going to be poor? You know, it's interesting to see that even showing up in today's world, where the belief system is where people will travel to a certain country and they think that because they see some poverty in that country that everybody in the country has to be living the same way. And it's just not true. And it's interesting to watch our reaction to that. I've gone to Mexico frequently over the last couple of years, and while I deal with other Anglo-Saxon gringos, if you will, and I listen to what they are talking about in terms of things that they see and how they think it should be fixed, where it's a natural part of the society that we are visiting, and yet because it doesn't align with what they believe, their belief system, they think it's wrong. And so it's been interesting to watch this as I've traveled around in central Mexico, to watch other Americans and Canadians and Europeans react to the lifestyle that the people in the area are living, and seeing it how they think they need to fix it because it's not what they want, and it doesn't make them feel very comfortable. And so they have a tendency to want to fix it. But it's all about becoming aware of what it is operating in me. So for instance, instead of me trying to fix something that I see that's bothering me, look and see why. Go within and see, why is it bothering me? I don't have to fix everything out there. Just because I think it should be one way doesn't mean that everybody else thinks it should be that way. And again, it's all a level of how we are connected with spirit and how we are allowing spirit to move through us to create the experience that we're having. Oftentimes when we have extreme reactions to something, there's an opportunity for us to look at that inside of ourselves. You know, we exist to fulfill any creative possibility that we desire to pursue. That's what we exist for. And creativity is limitless. It's one of those things that is completely abundant. I love, there's a quote from Maya Angelou that I just I saved to put it onto a meme for myself. And it says that you cannot exhaust creativity. That creativity is limitless. And the more you do, the more creative you are, the more creativity you can find. And so as we are looking at this idea of creating more of an experience of abundance in our lives, we can look at all kinds of creative ways to do that. You know, this isn't about a certain set of moral rules, but it's about finding the things that are working for us that are true to our nature. The generosity of spirit is infinite, and there is absolutely nothing in this world that is more natural than abundance. You can't look anywhere in this world and not see an abundance of something. You go outside into your yard right now. Right? My yard happens to be covered with rocks. There are more rocks there than I could possibly ever count. If I looked out into the beach where I love to go and the sand on the beach, the grains of sand on the beach are literally infinite because they're constantly coming in and moving out through the ocean. There is an abundance of everything in our world. There is more than enough air to breathe. There are more than enough leaves on the trees. We live in an infinitely abundant world. And there are things that we need to do to help keep it that way. But it's all about experiencing that abundance in a way that is natural for us. What is unnatural is scarcity and lack and poverty. Those are the unnatural things in spirit. Spirit is naturally abundant. And we find that abundance in our lives when we find our Dharma, when we live that most natural way of being, where things seem to flow a little more easily. You know, have you ever been in a job that was just tiring and difficult and nothing seemed to work right and there was always conflict in there? You're not working in your Dharma when you're in that. You know, Dharma is about connecting to the true source of your spirit and allowing yourselves to become aware of how that is operating in you. And karma is those things that block us from that. When we are experiencing karmic effects, then we need to find a way to become more conscious. You know, the way that we get unstuck from anything is through developing our self-awareness. What is operating in my belief system right now? Every problem that we have has a solution at the level of our awareness. And the deeper we go into our awareness of the nature of this connection that we have, this unity of spirit that we have, the more we become aware of that, the more we have room to grow and to change. The more we become aware, the more we are able to change the experience that we live. So if we're talking about abundance, specifically money, then we need to look at the things that are self-defeating behaviors. Things like worry, anxiety, the inability to move, denial, wishful thinking. You know, it doesn't do us any good to say, I want $1 million in my bank account if we're not willing to get up and do anything about it. There's also things like giving up, like thinking, well, this is beyond my capability. I know for my weight issues, I've given up lots of times on that. The other thing we can do is we hide from ourselves. We don't look at ourselves truly. We just kind of block it away and say, I'm not dealing with that. Self-judgment can be one of those karmic things that are stopping us from being our best. They're the self-defeating behaviors that are unconsciously driven by our old habits and past conditioning and the race consciousness of the society that we live in. We are all subject to these things. And we often find that the more sensitive the issue is, the more it means to me, then the harder it is for me to break away from these self-defeating behaviors. And so these are the things that we can do to help us do that. Get clearer on there. Get a clearer perspective. If you can't find it for yourself, find it from somebody else. You know, we have wonderful practitioners here who are always able to know the truth of a situation for you. We have to become honest with ourselves, like really, really become honest and see what it is that I'm doing in this moment that's not helping me out. You know, we can seek expert help from professionals, you know, psychological professionals, counselors, things like that. We can seek the help for those. One of the other things that we have to do is we have to persist. Persistence is one of the key factors of this. Don't give up. We all go through setbacks, but get back on the horse and ride it again. You know, Another thing that we have to do is believe that a solution exists and that you will find the solution. There is always a solution to every problem that's out there. And we have to be able to be open to finding that solution. And we have to be open-minded about the choices that we make. Really look at them and say, is this for my highest and greatest good? Or is this something that is not serving me at all? We have to take responsibility. Take responsibility for the things that we've done, for the ways that we need to change. There are always ways that we can find positive choices in life. But the more we become conscious of what's happening in our lives, the easier it is to find those positive choices. So, asking ourselves, where can I look for good advice? Who's an expert in this field that can help me? What is the one thing that I really need to persist with? What is that thing that I keep giving up on and not continuing, not seeing it through? Persevere. We have to actually ask ourselves, do we believe that there is a possible solution to this problem and that we can actually achieve that solution? If we're not believing that, it doesn't do us any good. And we have to, again, ask ourselves, where in this situation can I take more personal responsibility? These are the ways that we begin to change our lives, where we begin to actually have a greater experience of life through the choices that we make. Looking at our way that we are developing our consciousness, as Deepak calls it, our yoga. Yoga is the science of consciousness. It's about awareness. Where am I in that belief system? Do I really believe that there is that thing within me that knows the solution to this problem? That's what we call consciousness. That's what we call spirit. That's what we call the divine. We have to look at our blocks. We have to look at the things that are stopping us from experiencing our highest and greatest good. And we have to be open to finding our natural path, our natural way of being in the world. We may think that it's all about the money, but if what we are naturally drawn to doing, what is our dharma, may not be something that makes a lot of money. But it may be something that is a benefit. Well, I know it'll be something that is a benefit to the world because it has to be that way. Whatever is best for me is best for everyone that's around me. If I look at it in the truest, purest form of what is my true self, then what is best for my true self is going to be best for the world around me. That is our key to experiencing more wealth. Now, whether that wealth comes in monetary terms or whether that wealth comes in experiences or whether that wealth comes in relationships or just a greater, more peaceful way of being in the world. That's my true wealth, and that's what I'm looking for. So we're going to continue this month to look at some more ideas that Deepak has in his book, The Abundance, The Inner Path to Wealth, and how we can take those through some of our experiences in life.